Thank you for answering my video call, Professor Dare. Do you have time to help me with something? Sure, Virginia. What can I help you with? I want to take your American history course, but I'm not sure if I should take the online or traditional version. Okay, let me see if I can help. First, let's go over the key similarities and differences between the online and traditional course. The online and traditional format are both models of formal learning. Therefore, no matter what learning model you choose, both courses will intentionally focus on developing your knowledge and skills. To guide this development, each model will contain specific learning objectives, attendance requirements, and summative assessments. Another similarity is a highly structured curriculum. Both the traditional and online course will have a similar structure and sequence. The materials, activities, and assessments are all organized, regulated, and specific in both formal curriculums. One major difference between the two models includes the use of technology. In the traditional model, little to no technology is used. We often hold frequent in-person meetings throughout the traditional course as well. On the other hand, the online course implements technology for all material, instruction, and assessment. In the online course, face-to-face meetings almost never occur. Another major difference between the traditional and online course is communication. In the traditional course, the type of communication used for directions and discussions are given with verbal and nonverbal cues. Sometimes I will write the directions on the board and read them aloud to students. However, in the online course, communication is strictly nonverbal. I typically post the written directions or discussion prompts on the learning management system or course website. I don't know how I'm going to decide. Is it possible that one model is just simply better than the other? That's a tough question to answer. Each model actually has its own set of advantages and disadvantages. Let's look at the traditional model first. One advantage of the traditional model includes the face-to-face interactions that take place in the physical classroom. With this type of in-person meeting, I like to use a variety of role-playing simulations. For example, traditional students can simulate the process of how a bill becomes a law, how unions and management conduct negotiations, or how the assembly line leads to mass production. Some of these role-playing activities require physical materials or bodily movements, which are carried out more easily in the traditional format. Another advantage includes the immediacy of feedback. In the traditional model, I can provide immediate feedback to my students while they work on an activity in class. When students first learn how to dissect a primary source, they may need my guidance and advice more often. For example, if a student did not consider context, bias, or worldview when analyzing a source, I can immediately pose questions or address misconceptions to get the student back on track. One disadvantage of the traditional model includes less flexibility. Students must attend class at a specific time, which can interfere with their daily lives. For history, learners are expected to read sources, write conclusions, and prepare for in-person discussions. Reflections and discussions must be brief so that everyone in the class has a chance to share during our short face-to-face session. Unfortunately, this limited window could cause students to rush through the reading, spend less time on reflection, or create shallow analyses of material. All of these actions could ultimately lead to poor class discussions over content or a shallow understanding of the past. Another disadvantage of the traditional model includes the possibility of less inclusion. The traditional model cannot address learners with specific needs or disabilities without the use of technology. History students are often prompted to dissect primary sources. Some students need technology to read the source to them. Others with less hand coordination might prefer to annotate the text by digitally highlighting or typing notes. Also, students who speak English as a second language may need technology to help translate certain academic words such as imperialism or totalitarianism. The traditional classroom limits students' access to digital tools and apps that aid them in retaining historical knowledge and practicing skills of historical inquiry. That's a lot to consider. How about the online course? One advantage of the online model is flexibility. Online learners experience little interference with their full-time jobs and personal lives. Students can complete assignments on their own time, and they have a greater opportunity and time frame to reflect on the material. These things result in deeper processing of content. When online students read historical sources, they have more time to analyze and dissect the material. They can reflect on their conclusions about a historical event or figure in depth. By developing a stronger analysis, students can better process what happened in the past and contribute to discussions in meaningful ways. Another advantage of the online model includes the implementation of virtual learning tools. Students can access virtual tools from anywhere and anytime. In the online history course, we can access an array of museums and field trip experiences. While the traditional course allows students to attend museums in person, those trips are often limited by location and funding. With virtual tours in the online model, students can mostly avoid those limitations. One disadvantage of the online model is the possibility of a digital divide within the group of students. Some students might have more or less experience with technology than others, which can cause my course to be more challenging for those with less access, experience, or digital literacy skills. I often require my history students to conduct extensive research. Without skills in using databases or evaluating and citing sources, the assignment can be even more difficult. I try to be proactive in narrowing a potential divide so that my students don't encounter a negative learning experience, feel overwhelmed by an array of challenges, or fail my course. Another disadvantage of the online model is isolation of students. Communication between students and faculty and peers takes place through discussion posts, emails, direct messages. There's little to no face-to-face meetings or personal conversations. Without those kinds of interactions, some students feel disconnected and alone, which can have negative impacts on their mental health and learning outcomes. I plan out several one-on-one meetings with students throughout the duration of the course to monitor progress, offer advice, and provide encouragement for larger history projects. In the online course, students may not receive that kind of attention in person and therefore could potentially feel alone while working through a larger assignment. This decision is going to be tough. I don't know how I'm going to decide which one I need to take. Need is a very important word for our conversation. Adult learners like yourself have specific learning needs that can be met with different theories. Let's discuss a couple of them. The traditional model is complemented by the transformative learning theory. Relationships play a crucial role in the process of transforming a learner's mind, body, and feelings. Partnerships and group work have positive impacts on adult learning. Traditional students tend to feel more connected to a learning community. By directly working with others in a physical space, these students are more likely to develop strong relationships. Those connections can cause students to reconstruct their thoughts and feelings. The experiential learning theory also complements the traditional model. This theory emphasizes the importance of learning through experiences in social and physical settings. The traditional classroom offers tactile experiences and face-to-face social interactions within a physical setting. Students can use tangible tools, equipment, or artifacts that significantly impact the learning process. These kinds of activities can spark experiential learning. For the online model, Knowles' theory of andragogy assumes that adults have a strong concept of themselves as a learner and therefore are more autonomous and self-directed. Online students are the main actors in the process of learning. They independently read the material, draw conclusions, write reflections, and submit assignments. McCluskey's theory of margin states that adult learners have to juggle an array of responsibilities and demands. Adults are often in the process of changing roles and adapting to new circumstances. Therefore, many adults must find a balance between their personal lives, work lives, and education. The online model aids students in balancing their load and power ratio by providing flexibility. You have been so helpful, Professor, but what if I'm still undecided? That's okay. Take your time. Just remember, no matter what model you choose, always use strategies that you know work for you personally. Whether I teach an online or traditional course, I always try to use instructional strategies that work for me. For example, I design my curriculum with intentionality and clarity by including a variety of presentation formats, consistent learning platforms, and clear and specific learning objectives. To offer a variety of multimedia formats, I provide instructional materials in writing, images, video, and audio. When I teach the Great Depression, I provide students with an audio recording of one of Franklin D. Roosevelt's fireside chats, photographs taken of Hoovervilles, and videos of the Dust Bowl. By delivering these different instructional materials, I can reach a variety of learners. Another strategy I use includes student reflection and real-life application. I ask students to reflect on the material, connect experiences to the content, and provide specific examples of how they can apply the content to real-world situations. When we talk about the forced assimilation of Native Americans or Indian removal, I ask the students to reflect on how the government could have handled Native relations and policies in the past differently. I also ask them to consider how the U.S. government should handle current Native American affairs. This allows students to use what they learn about Native Americans and apply that knowledge to solving real problems. Thank you for sharing your strategies with me. That makes me even more excited to take your class, regardless of the model I choose. As you suggested, I'll take some time to think about it. Thank you so much for helping me, Professor Dare. No problem, Virginia. I'm glad I could help. Good luck as you work through your own thinking. I will see you in one of my courses soon.